So, Eric, I'm Tracy. I live in the southwest of England in Gloucestershire. I'm a mother and a grandmother. I've got my youngest granddaughter is actually just 3 months old, and they are my world. The work that I do at the moment is facilitation and coaching, and I'm really passionate about deep equity and enabling equity of opportunity for all people within all communities. Could you introduce yourself, Eric, please?
Sure. My name is Eric Maisel. It's lovely to start with the grandchildren place. That's a perfect place to start. We have five grandchildren. A couple are quite far away. One is in Russia, one is in Brazil, but three are just an hour away from us here in Northern California. My main roles in life currently are writing books. I've written 50 or 60 books. I work as a creativity coach. I train creativity coaches. I'm also interested in an area of thought called critical psychology and critical psychiatry, where we look at the problems with the current mental disorder paradigm. I'm the lead editor for the Ethics International Press Critical Psychology and Critical Psychiatry series. I do a blog for Psychology Today called Rethinking Mental Health that's had 3 or 4 million views. So, my main interests currently are creativity, creativity coaching, life purpose, meaning, psychology. And I work with clients worldwide individually as a creativity coach. And I do all kinds of workshops and webinars and retreats and what have you around the world.
Thank you, Eric. And I've been fortunate enough to meet you virtually before today through your course on creativity coaching, which I successfully completed and thoroughly enjoyed. And it made me realize that in England, creativity coaching is something that's quite unusual. And when I went in to talk to the people within the communities that I live and work, I realised that there may be some barriers to participation. And so I was really looking for resources to show people how what creativity coaching is, but not only that, how it is an inclusive practice and it's relevant for all sorts of people from all sorts of backgrounds. And so I couldn't find a short video to explain that, and that's where my invitation to you came through, Eric. So I'm wondering if you could share, from your perspective, what is coaching for creativity?
It can mean different things, of course. In the business world, creativity is a popular buzzword recently. Companies think they need it without being exactly sure what they mean by it, but they tend to mean innovation and problem solving when they use the word creativity. So, in the business environment, that's what creativity coaching or creativity seems to mean: innovation and problem solving. But in my world, working with creative and performing artists, it means something else, because what my clients want to do is essentially manifest their potential, make use of themselves, their inner resources, and then share that in the world, which means dealing with all kinds of marketplace issues. So essentially, creativity coaching, from my point of view, is life coaching for creative and performing artists. Everything that comes up for creatives, their special challenges, whether it's special challenges around existential matters, wondering whether what they're doing matters, whether it's extra sadness coming from extra good reality testing, whether it's the special anxieties that arise by virtue of the nature of the creative process, where we're going into the unknown to make something or bring something back, and that can be a little scary. So there are anxiety issues. There are special addiction risk factors for creatives. You can tell these are all real things. These are not smiley faced or airy fairy things. These are the real things that human beings who want to write or paint or make music are confronted by, including marketplace issues. And for marketplace issues, I have to advise my clients that if they try to do things the usual ways, they'll likely not make it, that they'll actually have to prove the exception and dream up their own paths and their own ways of doing things, because there's, as we know, a lot of competition. It's a difficult. Every one of the art marketplaces has its own difficulties. So, career is one of the presenting issues that my clients come to me with. But probably the most prominent issue, the most usual issue is just getting the work done. That is, showing up to the work with whether it's writing a novel or painting a painting or composing a song, showing up to the work in a regular way. Most creative folks, and especially most would be creative folks, do their work very intermittently. They have the hope of working, but then a month goes by, or 6 months go by, or a decade goes by, and they haven't gotten to the work. And that's very painful and disappointing because they really had meant to do it, but life got in the way. So, my main work, my primary work is helping creative performing artists create a regular daily practice for their work and stick with it and deal with falling off the wagon, deal with not getting to the work to make sure that they complete their projects and meet their goals.
Thank you, Eric. And I've come back to creativity after 20 years of falling off the wagon. And so I'm really keen. I think it would have made a difference for me 20 years ago if I had somebody to talk to just to help navigate and sort of sense check my understanding and my kind of dreams around creativity. And I wonder what would be your words of encouragement to anyone from any background who is interested in exploring their own creativity and encouragement and letting them know that creativity coaching is a space for them. What would be your words of encouragement?
Well, a couple of different ideas. One is to remember what it felt like at the age of 5 or 6 or 7 to be in love with the medium you loved, whether it was sitting in a corner reading a book or watching a movie on a big screen or whatever it was. No one had to tell you to be in love with that. We were naturally in love with art as children. So reminding ourselves of that, it's such a pure place of love. It's just a great reminder. But for now, as an adult, I think the big reminder is to not set the bar too high so that you will disappoint yourself again. That is, don't try to pencil in 3 hours of working on your novel when you know you're not going to really spend 3 hours working on your novel. It's much better to create a program or a plan of action that includes small chunks of work, 20 minutes in the morning, because people can fairly consistently get to that 20 minutes, and those 20 minutes will grow over time. But the main thing is daily practice, not just regular practice, but daily practice. Because all creatives have the experience that if they miss 2 days or 3 days, a month just vanishes. They blink and the month is gone. So, on a practical level, it would be get to the work every day. And then the next piece of advice that follows on the heels of that is that I think it should be a morning practice before your, so to speak, real day begins. And there are a couple of reasons for that. One is obviously if you showed up to your work every day, you'd get a lot of work done. The second reason is existential, and that is that if you do a real thing first thing each day, make a little meaning first thing in the morning, the rest of the day can be half meaningless and you won't get depressed. It's important that we get some real work done each day, and getting it done first thing is valuable. Then the third reason for it being a morning practice is that if you turn to your work first thing each morning, you get to make use of what I call your sleep thinking, and that's different from dreaming. We dream in REM sleep, but we think in non REM sleep. And human beings do a lot of thinking during the night that then gets wasted because they don't turn to their work first thing. If you go to bed thinking about your novel and allow your brain to think about it and then go to your novel first thing, you'll have the experience of just taking dictation. It'll just be there. And that's really a profound benefit of coming to the work first thing each day. To have your work ready and waiting for you like that is kind of a blessing. So to re-say that quickly, daily practice and if possible, morning practice.
Thank you, Eric. And I work in communities where a lot of people don't necessarily value their own creativity or don't even accept them and label themselves as a creative person or an artist. And I really want to encourage people to know like this is a space for everybody. There aren't labels of who it's for. And so I just wonder what would be your encouragement to those people that think actually they don't see themselves as, even though they are creative in their lives, they don't necessarily see themselves as what we might label as artists or songwriters or poets, but they have a real passion for creativity. What would be your words of encouragement for them to step into this space?
There's the cognitive piece, that is, thinking thoughts that serve them. They obviously need to change the thoughts they're thinking. If they're thinking, I'm not talented, or it's too late, or there's too much competition, or I'm not really creative. If they're thinking those kinds of thoughts, they want to dispute those thoughts, not around the veracity of the thoughts. They may be thinking a true thought, like there's lots of competition, is a true thought, but it's still not a thought that serves you if you're trying to get your work done. So there would be the cognitive piece. There would be the existential piece of reminding yourself that you and your efforts matter. A lot of people don't really believe that they matter. They think they're just excited matter that the universe could make and therefore made it, and they're going to come and go, and that their efforts don't really count. So I think there's that existential piece that's important. And then I think there's a really profound paradigm shift for folks to make from the idea that life has just one purpose, that they're to put all of their eggs in some basket, to the idea that we each have multiple life purposes of our own choosing, creativity being just one of them. You don't have to completely invest in creativity. You can invest in parenting and career and activism and service and other things, and have your creative efforts be a part of a day, as opposed to thinking that it's an either or kind of thing. Either I'm creative or not creative. The better way to think about it is, let me have a creative chunk of time each day when I can exercise my imagination, have fun, be in love with a story, or throw some paint around or what have you. Let me have a piece of the day that serves one of my life purposes, my creativity life purpose, and then move on to other things. So I think people can relax better if they think of the idea of multiple life purposes and let go of the idea that I'm either creative or not creative. You can be creative in this particular sense of it being one of the things that's important to you.
Thank you. And Eric, is there anything else you'd like to share or say for the purpose of this recording?
Just that, as you are saying, I think people don't understand the extent to which they would be happier if they managed to get to their creating without that critical voice going on in their heads about, is it any good or what have you. That is, if they could just show up and not attach to the outcome, they would really enjoy the creative life.
Thank you. And Eric, before we close the call, I just really wanted to appreciate you. I really appreciate you listening to and responding to my email request. And in light of you being incredibly talented and expert in this field compared to myself, so I just really value you and appreciate you taking the time to speak with me today. So thank you, Eric.
Thank you so much for having me. It's been fun.